Guess what? Chris Matthews is here.
Hi,
He's the author of the new book, This Country, My Life in Politics and History. And Chris, it's so interesting. A couple weeks ago,
it's great to see you.
Yeah, great to see you. People always come up, how's Chris doing? They talk about Chris. I had a guy come up and talk about you, and he said, Chris Matthews always told me something that always stuck in my head. He said he was a Capitol Hill cop, and he learned that the average American, the little guy, as you said, like people that working class neighborhoods, Philly or wherever, Pensacola, you name it, they love America. They love America because it's the one thing they got. And I was thinking about that myself last summer. We were in Maine, and we went out to an island that was pretty far out, and there was a house that was pretty ramshackle. There are a lot of things in the yard. I'll tell you what, they had a huge American flag, perfectly pressed, and I said, Chris is right. That's what they got. That's what we all got.
You remember it right. That was Officer Leroy Taylor of West Virginia called me aside, the college kid, to tell me what the whole fight was about, the culture war. It's about the little guy, little woman, who doesn't have much. They don't have a glamorous life, but they do have their flag, and they do have their country, and they feel it, and they feel it strongly. Joe, I've had this amazing life, and I wrote about it. I had 2 years to write about it. That helped me. But, I started in Africa for all those years, and then I was in the Air Force One flying around with Jimmy Carter, fighting for his reelection. I was with Tip O'Neill in the back rooms of power. I was at the Berlin Wall when it was coming down, talking to regular Germans about why it was all happening. And one of these young kids, I said to the kid, what's freedom mean to you? Was ist Freiheit? And the kid said, talking to you. The big changes in our life, whether it's the end of apartheid. I was there with Archbishop Tutu when he got to vote for the first time at the age of 62. I was in Northern Ireland when the Irish Catholics and Protestants got together for Good Friday. I've had these amazing experiences, and I wanted to share them because, the most exciting parts of our life, Joe and Mika, don't happen on television. They usually happen in real life.
Amen.
And the really big stories people like to hear about is behind the scenes. What was it like to be when history was being made? And, Joe, you were in the House all those years, and Mika, I remember with your dad working at the White House, one of the thrills of being at the White House as a speechwriter to President Carter was being in black tie one evening and going in to see Zbigniew Brzezinski and trying to get him to approve his speech, blasting the Russians for invading Afghanistan. And he's all dressed up like me. And I felt, hey, I'm just like Zbigniew Brzezinski. We're both going to the same party. And he said, I'm not going to approve barbarous behavior by the Russians on a split second. Bring that back to me tomorrow morning. that was my meeting with your dad.
Yeah, but that sounds
so
just
many
about
experiences to write about.
Yeah.
My dad can be tough. Mike Barnicle.
Hey, Chris, one element of your life and the lifespan and all the people you've met and encountered and talk to us a bit about the most uniquely American of politicians that you worked for a while. Thomas P. Tip O'Neill. I've never met a more American politician in my life. How about you?
Well, there we are walking over. I think we were giving an award to Jack Lemmon, the actor, for some caucus, the Arts Caucus, whatever it was. Every morning, here's this big guy, overweight, didn't think he was that great looking. I thought he was an amazing looking person. And he would issue this with Kathleen, my wife, and he would get up every morning knowing the country had been moving right under Reagan, knowing that Reagan was this incredibly charismatic figure, punching him every day. And he went up and went to work every morning. And I always thought that was the real courage of Tip O'Neill, sticking to his guns, sticking to his beliefs, even when he knew they were a bit out of date in that period. They're back again. But I think courage is about getting up every day and going to work for a lot of people. It's not about, it's also about courage on the battlefield. A split second of incredible grace under pressure is having a set foot. But just going to work when you know you're not popular every day. I thought that was Tip O'Neill's great strength.
Chris,
Just
it's
doing
Willie. It's great to see you.
Hi, Willie.
Glad to have you back. Congratulations.
By the way, you're on the
book.
cover of the Bethesda magazine, you and your dad. Every time
really?
I go to the drugstore, oh, come on, you must know.
I don't,
You're right on
actually.
the cover, Willie. Right on the
Oh,
cover.
you're like a big star. You don't
He's
even
on
know
so
about
many
it.
covers at this point.
Oh,
You do so many
boy.
cover shoots, you lose track of it,
Yes.
Chris. People, Us Weekly,
me?
they all blend
What?
together. So, Chris, among the many times we've missed your voice on television was on January the 6th, as you watched what happened in the building where you work, the building you're just talking about, working for Tip O'Neill. What went through your mind, what went through your heart and your gut as you watched that, and then the events that have followed, the unwillingness of Republicans to take that look back with a January 6th commission?
Willie, that got to my heart. I felt violated. I felt like this cathedral of democracy, this place where all the big battles over slavery and everything, and Jim Crow, and how we passed the Civil Rights Bill with a huge majority in the Senate in both parties. This is where the best of America has come together, a Congress coming together. It's our democracy. I mean, I worked with a cop when I was a Capitol policeman who said, I'd die for this building. And I meant it. And he meant it, obviously. And I thought about those people. What were they doing? And, you know, sometimes what we see, you think it's at its worst, like Watergate. No, if it really had gotten to its worst, they would have won. They would have found a member of Congress, Pelosi, the Speaker, or maybe Mike Pence, the VP, or maybe Mitt Romney. They were chasing after him, and that African-American police officer led them in the other direction, which was so courageous and so quick-witted to pull that off, to get them away from the target they were after. We have no idea how bad that could have got. Suppose they did get a hold of one of these members of Congress who've been elected by the people. God knows these people were on a tear, and they were led by the president. And the fact that the Republicans don't want to investigate this is maddening, because why not get it over with? Find out who did it. Find out who the organizations involved. Find out what their motive, what was their ultimate goal that day. One goal, immediate goal, was to stop the election of a president by the College of Electors, the Electoral College. They could have stopped it. They wanted to physically stop it. Well, they stopped it for a couple hours. And I tell you, that was an insurrection. And it really felt like a violation to me, because I used to walk those halls. I was a cop defending those halls. I knew what people had spent their lives there doing. And there was a sort of sacredness to that building. You didn't go walking into the Speaker's office. You wouldn't go walking on the floor of the Senate. You wouldn't be doing that stuff. It was wrong. And the American people should have really rebelled against that stronger than they have.